Jeffrey Epstein haunting the world's most powerful men. We begin with the breaking news at this hour, which is that Prince Andrew has been stripped of all his royal titles by his brother, the king. It comes as the younger brother of King Charles is accused again of forcing sexual encounters with a teenager who was trafficked by Jeffrey Epstein. The vile details coming out in a new bombshell book written by Virginia Jeffrey. It's called Nobody's Girl, and it's set to be published next week. And there is a lot in there. Now, Virginia Jeffrey, she wrote this book. This is her memoir. This is her story. She did die earlier this year by suicide, writing that Andrew was entitled, as if he believed having sex with me was his birthright. Now, that's according to excerpts published by The Guardian. Now, Jeffrey says that when this happened, she was 17 years old. And she describes in this book 3 occasions where she says Prince Andrew had sex with her. Now, Andrew has denied wrongdoing, but he settled in 2002 with Jeffrey for an undisclosed amount. And now being stripped of his titles by his brother. Imagine that conversation, especially because nearly 4,000 miles away here in the United States, there's no such conversation going on. Powerful men so far, nothing. But maybe tonight they are scared because this is where Epstein lived and built his empire. And yet the full truth is still to come out about who, aside from Epstein and his convicted accomplice, Ghislaine Maxwell, was sexually assaulting underage girls. Now, there has yet to be a vote on the House floor on a bipartisan bill which would release the full Epstein files. And there's a reason for that. There is one person who is responsible for that, and that is Speaker Mike Johnson. He will not bring that to the floor. So members of Congress, again, this is bipartisan, found a way around this, around Johnson's stonewalling, through what's called a discharge position. So they can go around him and they can gain a vote on it anyway. They just have to have enough votes for that. Well, guess what? They do. They have enough votes. The final yes vote to get it over the finish line belongs to Congresswoman-elect Adelita Grijalva. She was elected 24 days ago. So why is she not sitting in Congress? Because the minute she's sworn in, the vote will happen. Well, Speaker Johnson is refusing to swear her in. Well, today, Senator Chuck Schumer posted this video in Manhattan.
Speaker Johnson is more concerned about protecting what happened in here than what happens in here.
Well, the Republican co-sponsor of the Epstein bill, right, to release all the files is Thomas Massie. And he says, and I quote him, "The government is shut down, but the House refuses to go back into session. Why are we in recess? Because the day we go back into session, I have 218 votes for the discharge position to force a vote on releasing the Epstein files." Now, there's also the president, whose own DOJ told him he's in the Epstein files multiple times. He is trying everything he can to turn the page past the Epstein investigation.
The Epstein hoax. It's just a hoax. The whole Epstein thing is a Democrat hoax.
Are you still talking about Jeffrey Epstein? This guy's been talked about for years.
Of course, it's bipartisan, and of course, abusing underage girls is not a hoax. We should note, Trump, who was close friends with Epstein for over a decade, has not been charged with any wrongdoing. But the men who committed wrongdoing have not been held to account, in part because of the plea deal that Epstein pulled off in 2007, where he avoided federal charges and a potentially lengthy sentence. The former Trump cabinet official, Alex Acosta, who was the architect of that plea deal, well, this is what he did. He sent Epstein to jail for 13 months, allowed Epstein to leave for 12 hours a day, 6 days a week in order to work and continue to see underage girls. Virginia Jeffrey writes about the first time that Ghislaine Maxwell introduced her to Prince Andrew. She says at the time she was 17 years old. Now, according to the BBC, Jeffrey says they went to dinner in a nightclub. And on the way home, she says Ghislaine Maxwell told her, "When we get home, you are to do for him what you do for Jeffrey." And then she wrote of what happened next. "He was friendly enough, but still entitled, as if he believed having sex with me was his birthright." Now, Ghislaine Maxwell is serving a 20-year prison sentence for trafficking a minor for sex, being the accomplice for Jeffrey Epstein. But after 2 lengthy meetings with Trump's DOJ, she was suddenly, very quickly, moved to a minimum security prison in Texas, where prison consultant Sam Mangle, who has clients in the same facility in Maxwell, that, he's talking to their families, knows what's happening in there. He says that they say she is treated like she's a guest at a hotel in there. Is that because Ghislaine Maxwell has said all the right things?
As far as I'm concerned, President Trump was always very cordial and very kind to me, and I just want to say that I find I admire his extraordinary achievement in becoming the president now, and I like him, and I've always liked him. So that is the sum and substance of my entire relationship with him.
Out front now, Barry Levine, the former editor of the National Enquirer, author of The Spider, which is about Epstein and Maxwell, and also with us, Tara Palmieri, who has reported on Epstein and Maxwell extensively. Also the host of the Tara Palmieri Show and author of The Red Letter on Substack, has had so much exclusive reporting on all of this. So grateful to both of you. So Tara, this comes out, this book is coming out, Virginia Giuffre. And people are talking about it. Maybe people who knew about this story generally, but not specifically. And they're now going to see specific, horrible things in black and white. What does this mean? Does this put more pressure on Trump, on Speaker Johnson for transparency or not?
I think that her story is an incredibly graphic and horrific one that honestly, it's hard to even script. Having known her so well, we traveled around the country together. I've heard the brutality that she went through. And I think when you hear this through her voice and you understand even the concept of it, nobody's girl, that no one was looking out for, and that so many of these victims have the exact same story. And when you see, even in the passages that have been released, the descriptions of the men she's talking about, you know, a senator from the Midwest, a hedge fund man and his wife. I mean, it is something that a lot of people have been nervous about. This book will certainly cause a lot of earthquakes, whether there are names or not names. Like Prince Andrew is obviously named in the book, and it's caused some serious repercussions in the UK. The question is, when are people in the US going to pay for what is so blatantly out there and what we know?
Yeah. Right, and we know there are more. But, you know, you can imagine, Barry, as we're saying, King Charles, the brother, sitting down with his brother and stripping him of his titles because of this. So it was the Republican Congressman Thomas Massie, and I just quoted him a moment ago, but he came out about the Epstein files, talking about who was in them, right, in the United States, who else is there that now there may be more pressure on. Here's what Congressman Massie said.
That list also includes at least 19 other individuals, one Hollywood producer, worth a few $100 million, one royal prince, one high-profile individual in the music industry, one very prominent banker, one high-profile government official, one high-profile former politician, one owner of a car company in Italy, one rock star, one magician, at least 6 billionaires, including a billionaire from Canada. We know these people exist in the FBI files.
I have two separate but important questions on this. First, do you think this new book from Virginia Giuffre that's coming out is going to shed light on more of these individuals?
Well, Aaron, we have known through court testimony and interviews that she's given that there's about a half dozen men, including Prince Andrew, that she has named as being trafficked to. Representative Massie brings that number up to 19. So there's many other individuals that we had heard rumors about, but he has very specific information about these men. And, there's material in those files that would hopefully corroborate some evidence against these individuals. And these are, as he said, these are people here in the U.S. and abroad. And we need to investigate all of these men, including the half dozen that Virginia is likely to discuss.
Right, that she's likely at least
yes.
half a dozen. And then Massie talks about 19.
Yes.
Tara, again, Massie's seen what Massie's seen. But that whole release all the Epstein files, we don't know how many additional people could be in there or what, right?
Right, and if you look at Virginia Giuffre's depositions, which are in the Epstein files right now on the FBI's website, remember when Pam Bondi said, here, classified documents, but they were just Virginia Giuffre's depositions. There are a number of names, but they are redacted. They are blacked out. And the question is, if we get these Epstein files, if the DOJ somehow is compelled to release them, if somehow President Trump actually signs that law, are they just going to release the same thing that we've already seen, which is...
And can we just do some basic math here? Because you've done so many reporting, both of you, but on the victims, right? The number of victims that you know of at least is what?
The FBI estimates 1,000 victims, which would probably be a conservative estimate because the FBI is not going to exaggerate that.
So 1,000 victims at least. That's not all probably, Barry, probably going to be 6 to 19 men. right?
No, there's no question that there are probably dozens of men who took part in the sex trafficking, not to mention individuals like the enablers who put girls on planes to the Virgin Islands to be abused. There are individuals that are out there, that are still out there, that can be corroborated, and that's what we really need to do. In fact, we know that Jeffrey Epstein paid $1 billion through bank funds, paid out money to people all around the world, money that was moved through not only Chase in the U.S., but also through Russian banks. So there's a record. There's a record for these investigators to go down and to compile the names of these, suspicious individuals and bring them to justice. There's still time. Virginia is not with us, and those men are likely to escape prosecution, but so many others, as Representative Massey said, can potentially be brought to justice. So let's hope that her book, pushes forward to the public, and let's investigate these men.
And that her book may make that difference.
Yes.
Even though she's not here, her book can do
Yes.
that.